Friends, Father Frank here, bringing you my daily diary update for a number of days together, September 22nd, Thursday, 2022, through October the 1st of 2022. So Thursday the 22nd, I was at my office, and let's see, I did early mass, and then I did administrative phone call. Then I did an 8:15 radio interview with Teresa Tomeo, and then 8:30 staff meeting, and then 9:30 meeting with our technology team. Various work at my desk. Let's see, the kind of emails and paperwork I was dealing with had to do with upcoming trips, new employees. Let's see, international marches for life, keeping track of those broadcasts and preparation for broadcasts, issuing of press releases, and approving mailings to go out and follow up on the Pennsylvania March for Life and the videos that we took there. I had a meeting with our new correspondence person to continue to give training to her on that particular task, and then went into the TV studio for some extensive taping for upcoming broadcasts, and that was in the afternoon of the 22nd. Connected with staff and had some end of day updates that I reviewed from them, and then in the evening had a live Newsmax interview on Rob Schmidt's program, and had a dinner after that. That concluded the 22nd of September. The 23rd, 3:15 a.m., I drove myself to the Orlando airport because I was there to take a flight to Dallas, and had a speaking engagement there. Actually connected in Dallas to fly to Austin, and then had a speaking engagement there for the Texas Values Group. It was a statewide conference. They had me give one of the major talks. Actually, it was part of a panel, and we were talking about progress in the pro-life movement. As soon as I got finished speaking there, I had to head back to the airport and flew to Charlotte, North Carolina. So while I was there, besides giving my talk, I did a lot of interaction with the various leaders there. It was really great. And then on my trips to the airport and my time on the plane, I had emails dealing with approval of faxes to go out to all the parishes, more on international marches for life, training for political volunteers, invitations, quotes for the media on different inquiries, approving mailings, visits, upcoming visit of our videographer, and upcoming broadcasts, approving and arranging a lot of those things. Flew to Charlotte, settled in at night at my hotel in Charlotte, North Carolina, where the next day, Saturday the 24th of September, I spoke at their statewide conference for faith and freedom. They call it Salt and Light, and that was a really nice conference there. Again, interacted with a lot of pro-life leaders, politicians, and Ralph Reed was there. It's always nice to see him. And I gave my talk to that particular group, and they were very, very happy with it. Right after I gave my talk, had to head again to the airport. And this time took a flight to Orlando, but didn't go to my office. I stayed there in the airport, checked into the hotel, and then drove a little while after that, after doing some email work in the hotel, especially preparation for new staff. I drove over to a nearby hotel convention center where there was the gala banquet for the JMJ Pregnancy Center, one of the main pregnancy centers there in Orlando, and I had a special guest there, a woman who was served by the center 28 years ago because I was praying in front of an abortion mill, and she was in the waiting room. She came out, talked to me. We connected her with the center, and she's kept in touch all these years. So she was there with her daughter, who was saved that day, and her daughter's two daughters, who were also joining us at the banquet. It was wonderful. I interacted with so many people, blessed the high school group that was helping to serve the people, the guests. There were like over 900, almost 1,000 guests at this particular banquet. and we had a great time. So that was the 24th. Then I slept at the airport hotel because then early the next morning, Sunday the 25th, I had a flight to New Mexico. So I flew to Dallas first and then connected from there to Albuquerque. On the way, I was doing various work on my computer, such as writing the monthly note that I send out to all of the regional coordinators of Silent No More, and also the monthly note I send out to all the site leaders of Rachel's Vineyard. It's called the Note from the Pastoral Director, because I'm pastoral director of both of those campaigns. Then also emails regarding upcoming trips and regarding the leadership meeting of national leaders that I coordinate in Washington, D.C., which was going to be in a couple of days. So then I got to Albuquerque pretty early in the morning still, because I was going back in time. And I met up with Matt Britton, who is general counsel for 40 Days for Life. And we got together and we drove to the first event in Santa Fe. Great gathering of people. I spoke there for quite a while and gave them an extensive talk. Met some good brother priests there who were very supportive, and other pro-life leaders and activists, and we had a good time. And then from there, we drove back to Albuquerque for an evening event, and that was held outside of a notorious late-term abortion facility, where, again, I gave a speech to the participants, again, a number of my brother priests there who were very supportive. And were years ago when I came to address all the clergy of the Archdiocese at the invitation of their Archbishop. Monday morning, the 26th of September, still in Albuquerque, I addressed a breakfast meeting of politicians and pro-life leaders from across New Mexico. Varied group, some working in pregnancy centers, some working with student groups, some working with the 40 Days vigils, some in the political arena, some legislators. It was really, really good, and we had a good substantive discussion there. Then I went back to the hotel, was involved in different communications with my office and on email. And of course, by that time, we were starting to make plans for the hurricane that we knew was coming. I worked on various things with our social media department to make sure we had certain postings go up, and dealt with interview requests coming in. Then that afternoon, I got back on a plane, flew to Atlanta, then connected from Atlanta to Dulles Airport in Washington, where I landed at about 12:30 a.m., and then had to go another 45 minutes to my hotel, and got to bed quite late. Tuesday the 27th, I was there in Washington, D.C., and met with our D.C. office staff person, Krista. We did some work there in the office and some planning and some activities there. We met up with some pro-life leaders. I conducted a lunch meeting with several of our other members of the board of the National Pro-Life Religious Council, of which I serve as president. We had our meeting. I did more work with Krista in the office, and then I went over to meet with Sister Dee Dee, who has her Sister Deirdre Byrne, whom many of you know online, and she has her convent nearby there in D.C. So we had a nice meeting. We did a little taping together as well. From there, I went over to the Planned Parenthood and led and spoke at the opening prayer vigil for the Washington, D.C. 40 Days for Life site. Professor Michael New was coordinating that. After speaking to that group and interacting with the pro-life leaders there, I went over to the hotel where we have the pro-life leaders reception every quarter. National pro-life leaders come, so I spent the evening with all of them and getting ready for our business meeting the next day. A good time of fellowship and sharing of ideas. Then after that hospitality gathering finished at 9 p.m., I went back to my room and got on a 9:15 p.m. training call sponsored by the Leadership Institute. They wanted me to give a talk about the current status of the pro-life movement, and I spoke from 9:15 to 10 and on that Zoom call, and then after that was ready for bed. So the 28th of September, Wednesday, while in contact, of course, with my Florida office as they were making final preparations for the hurricane, and fortunately we were spared any damage from that, but nonetheless we had to be ready. But meanwhile, where I was in Washington, I conducted and led the all-day meeting with national pro-life leaders, and we had a great series of presentations about the election, about marketing, about state and federal legislation, about progress in the courts, and many other details, and sharing between the leaders of projects that each of their individual groups are doing. That meeting lasted from 8:30 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon. At 4:40, I was picked up to go back to the airport because I had to fly up to New York. And that I did. And when I landed in New York, I actually went over to my parents' house to stay and went to bed. And then on Thursday, the 29th, I was here visiting with my parents and started out the day with a 6 a.m. Pickup to go into New York City to go to Newsmax. And then I was on their morning program giving an update on how the abortion issue is going to impact the midterm elections, as far as we can tell. As soon as I did that TV interview, I then went into a radio interview with the Catholic Connection, Teresa Tomio's program. After that radio interview was done, I got a ride back up to Portchester, where my parents are, visited with them a little during the day, while also being in contact back and forth with my office. Of course, it was the day of the hurricane, and made sure everything was okay with all our friends down in Florida. And then in the evening, I actually had after having dinner with my parents, an election training call. And this is a monthly, well, now we do it weekly Zoom call with volunteers from across the country who are working to make a difference in the elections. And so that call was from 7:30 to 8:30, and that concluded the day's work on the 29th. On Friday the 30th, working from here at my parents' house, breakfast with them, visiting with them, helping out with some things around the house. At 11 a.m. went on a Zoom call to help lead prayer for, it's a weekly prayer call that Phyllis Schlafly's Eagles conduct, and various email work on upcoming trip plans, opinion pieces that we're sending out, election training, and what I call the monthly plan. That took some hours of work. That's the plan, detailed planning for the month of October. Upcoming interviews and invitations, handled those as well. That was Friday the 30th. And then Saturday, October 1st, started out early by driving to Yonkers, New York. There was a prayer breakfast gala there put on by the Westchester Putnam Right to Life. I was the keynote speaker, and we also honored Chris Slattery, a great pro-life leader in New York City. And so we had that morning event, and I also did an interview with Steve Bannon on War Room. I stepped out of the gala for a few minutes to talk with him and his audience. Came back home and did more planning, more work on the month plan for October, and various other emails and phone calls that I had to take care of. And in the evening, enjoyed watching President Trump in his rally from Michigan, important state, as always, in the elections, and watched that Trump rally for the evening, and then went to bed after that. So there's my daily diary for September 22nd to October 1st of 2022. Hope that you're keeping busy too in your defense of life. Let's pray for all our leaders. Let's use well the time the Lord gives us, the short time he gives us, to get his work accomplished. God bless.